I'm going to let Ben talk about the spending of the universities and kind of what he found on some of those things. I mean, I would say that, you know, there was actually a lot of positive that were found. I think there's also things where there's room for improvement, and Ben will go in more on that. But one of the things we also have asked our folks, our teams to look at are some policy items that universities are doing. And one of the things that I think has gotten a lot of attention in recent months and even years that needs to be is the use of some of these foreign visas like H-1B visas. This is supposed to be, oh, this is, you know, when people pitch this, say, oh, it's like specialized knowledge. We've got to bring all these people who just, you know, Americans aren't willing to do it, or they don't have the, we got to do this. And that's the narrative, right? It turns out, you know, these tech companies will fire Americans and hire H-1B at a discount. And they're basically indentured servants because they go in, and they're almost all from one country. They come, they have these brokers that do this, that make a fortune off this with arbitrage. They bring them in, and then they're indentured to the company. So the company can basically pay them low, and they say, no, they got to do this. You have to prove that there's no Americans. They will put an ad in like the classified section of a news. Nobody reads these physical newspapers. Oh, we were hiring for here. Like, nobody knows this, right? So it's all become a total scam. And so we've said this is a big problem anyways, you know, nationwide with all this. But then we looked at it in the universities. And if you think about it, they're saying, well, this is so specialized, you know, we can't find Americans to do it. Well, shouldn't universities be able to find it? I mean, like, literally, what you need to run your university, you have it within your capacity to produce those people. So here's what we found on some of the things. You got H-1B computer application coordinators from China, assistant professors from China, public policy professor, China. Why do we need to bring someone China to talk about public policy? Assistant swim coach from Spain on an H-1B visa. Are you kidding me? We can't produce an assistant swim coach in this country? Bioanalytical core director from Poland. A psychologist and counselor from the United Kingdom. Athletic department graphic designer from Canada on an H-1B visa. Athletics operations and communications coordinator, Trinidad and Tobago. Manager of marketing and communications from Albania. Data analyst. We can't produce a data analyst at our universities. Coastal research specialist from China. Assistant Director of Assessment Accreditation. Why are we bringing people in to assess our accreditation on an H-1B visa? We can't do that with our own people. Assistant Professor of Data Science. We can't produce that. I thought that was something that a lot of our schools are focused on. Computer science assistant, environmental engineering assistant, research in the Center of Power Systems, Wuhan, China, research faculty and education leadership policy studies, assistant professor of philosophy, H-1B visa, assistant professors in math and engineering from China. Again, why aren't we producing math and engineering folks who can do this? We've got hundreds of thousands of people in our state university system. Clinical assistant professor from the West Bank. Clinical assistant professor from supposed Palestine. Why are they? Is that just social justice that they're doing? And that's University of Florida. Agriculture, food scientist from Argentina. Assistant professor of engineering from Russia. All these different things that you know, you look at and you're just like, I don't understand how is that specialized knowledge that only someone from these places can do. A $40,000 job working as an assistant at the athletic department, that's an abuse of this whole idea. And so we saw it, we've seen how it's going on, and my view is especially when you see in the news all these people being laid off by Amazon, UPS, all these companies, we need to make sure our citizens here in Florida are first in line for job opportunities. And if there's things that the universities need that somehow they just can't find in Florida, to me, of all employers, they are the ones that would be most responsible for why they can't find what they need. I mean, we're churning out a lot of people. This should not be that difficult to do. So I think and look, some of this stuff is muscle memory. Some of this stuff is, I guess there's probably reasons why it ends up being this way. But, you know, I think it's a poor reflection on some of the decisions that some of these universities have made, that they're trying to say they need an H-1B visa to do some of these jobs, and clearly some of them are not even close. So this is not like you're taking an Einstein and you're bringing an Einstein from a foreign country to teach all these great things. First of all, you wouldn't even use an H-1B visa for that. You would use an O visa for that. So these are not like super – this is basically, in some respects, cheap labor that they're bringing in to try to save money. So we saw the results of that. We thought a lot of it was, quite frankly, troubling and disappointing. And so I'm directing today the Florida Board of Governors to pull the plug on the use of these H-1B visas in our universities. We can do it with our residents in Florida or with Americans. And if we can't do it, then, man, we need to really look deeply about what is going on with this situation. 2, grants. We've worked really from the day that the Trump administration took office on analyzing the grants that are used for things under the Biden administration. I mean, I don't think you could get money to fix a pothole unless you had a DEI component to it. I mean, it was like that persuasive. Now, we rejected infrastructure money because they were making us do some of this stuff, and we said we're not going to do it. And so we sent back money, you know, billions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars. I know we did over $1 billion in all the different programs that we sent back to DOGE. That was when Elon was there. But we have either repurposed or canceled more than $33 million in DEI-related grants that were made to our public universities. Now, you know, we banned DEI in 2023 with the legislature passing it. Some of those things may have been authorized in the earlier stages of Biden. I don't know. I don't know why they got it. I don't know why they were doing it. Some of them will tell you, the universities, that they had to add DEI to an application, otherwise they would get on money. But be that as it may, you know, we're rejecting that. So it's either being repurposed or simply sent back. And you've seen just a lot of different things. I mean, like, for example, $1.3 million for mobilizing physics teachers to promote inclusive and communal classroom cultures through everyday actions. You know, that's just slop, right? I mean, that's political slop that they're trying to do. And there's so many more that we're doing on all these different things. And so doing that, they've identified a lot. Florida DOGE has also identified over $10.6 million in grants within the Florida college system that we're working with federal and institutional partners to repurpose, or if we can't, then to cancel. An example of what some of our folks done, it's basically hundreds of thousands of dollars focusing on race, ethnicity in different things. And it's like, you know, as a Florida resident, if you're at a school, you should have the options to do whatever is available, and it shouldn't depend on race or ethnicity. And so that stuff is going to be dealt with very quickly. So I appreciate what's been done. I think that this is enlightening. Like I said, I think Ben's presentation, unless he found something new since the last time we talked, is going to be, you know, our universities are doing a lot of really good things in terms of how they're handling finances. But there's always going to be room for improvement. We're laying down the gauntlet on the H-1B visas. We've laid down the gauntlet now for many months on the woke grants, and that's going to continue. We're going to ferret out all of those. And now looking forward to what we can do on the fiscal side to improve what we've done. We've put a lot of money into the universities. Like, there's never been a time in the history of the state of Florida compared to my tenure as governor, where we've done more to financially support our state university and state college system. And I think that that's important. And part of the reason we do it is because we want to keep tuition low and keep it to where it is, lowest in the country. I think it's good that you can work hard as a Florida student, do well, end up going into one of our state universities, and really not have to take out one penny of student loans. You can work part-time jobs to be able to handle the tuition and some of the living expenses. And obviously, if you're a good enough student to get into schools like UF, USF, chances are you can qualify for the Bright Futures. I mean, we do hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars on that every year. And I think it's something that's been very, very positive for a lot of people. But being able to graduate without that, I saw something, they said 70% of students from public universities across the country, you know, once they get to 10 years, then the investment is paid off vis-a-vis people that were in high school and went into the workforce. And I'm just thinking it's taking 10 years to pay off, and then 30% it doesn't even pay off. That is not, even for public schools, which are, you know, theoretically cheaper. Florida, I mean, you know, I think it pays off very quickly. And what we're doing with the curriculum to streamline and do all this other stuff, it's really, really positive. We also just announced we've started speech and debate up again in Florida. When I became governor, we had very little of this going on. Now all 67 counties have a program. We've got hundreds and hundreds of schools that are involved. We do a state championship every year, and this year in the spring is going to be a new college in Sarasota. But we've been able to now, for the winner, award a $50,000 scholarship. For the second place, $25,000 scholarship. Third and fourth place each get $15,000, and the remaining quarterfinalists get $10,000 scholarships. And so I think you're going to end up having 700 plus students that are going to be participating in that. I think Stasi Kamutsis is going to live stream this because people want to see the kids debate, and so we're going to have that up there. And